Morning, everybody. Today we're going to focus on interactivity and web design. That would be lesson 12. When you publish lesson 11, you don't have to include lesson 12. If you're going to wait and do lesson 12 first before you publish all the lessons, then yeah, go ahead, but you don't have to include it. This is sort of it's important, but it is sort of icing on the cake. It's adding a bit more add panache to your website. There's two directions that we're going to go. One is kind of that the lesson covers is old school, and that it covers hover states, so that when you, for example, when I hover over these links, notice how it swaps out the image. This is one of the first forms of slideshows that were available on the web. It goes back to the early days of web design. It still exists, and it's not a bad way of working. But the problem is, once you move your mouse off of it, then the slide swaps back. But it's kind of nice. So that's one of the things that we'll cover. The other is under tips, and this is a Bootstrap element that can be added, and it's really kind of nice. There's parts of it that I really like, and there are parts of it that I don't like. Is that if you have a lot of data and you want to condense it on your page, then there is a couple of ways. You can either use tabs, or this one is very similar, and it is an accordion style add-on that allows you to condense data into these forms here. Now, to add these is very simple, and that's what we'll be doing. I'll probably work on this on Thursday. The hardest part is styling it to get it to match the rest of what you have. If you use the default settings, it looks kind of generic. It's gray and that sort of thing. The little slideshow here is pretty easy to do. So I'll show you how to do that too on Thursday. We can do both. And then what I want to focus on today is the WowSlider. So the WowSlider is, if you've noticed on my websites, let me go back to here. Let's take here. And if we go to any one of like my new work, and I scroll up here, this is a WowSlider. So you can see that I have a little tab on the lower left-hand corner that allows me to give a title and description. It automatically scrolls to the next slide. If you hover over it, it will pause. If I choose to pause the entire slideshow, I can do that, and it will remain fixed. And then I can go forward or backwards, or I can use these little buttons up here. And if there's a specific slide that I want to go to, it will do that. And if I want it to automatically play again, then I click there and it goes back. This is very easy to build. And so that's what we're going to focus on today, building your own. I think, like most things in web design, preparation is the key. You have to decide what size images you're going to use. And then you have to go ahead and you have to prepare those images first, make sure that they're all uniform in size, and then you'll be ready to go. What you're probably going to want to do, and the WowSlider is made by the same people that make Mobilize. And if you just type in wowslider.com, you can download a free version, and that's the version that I've used for several years now. The only downside to it, and I really don't consider it a downside, is like you saw here in my slideshow, notice that it has their little logo that says WowSlider in the lower right-hand corner. If that is, that's the only difference between the version that you pay for and the free version, is that you can remove that WowSlider logo. It doesn't bother me leaving it there. So I continue to use the free version. It's only Mobirise and have available all the different templates and that sort of thing that I've paid for. Okay, so again, if you go to wowslider.com, and it's available for both the Mac and the PC, you'll have access to it. So that's what I encourage you to do. So this is what it looks like when you open it. It's similar to Mobirise in that there are no tutorials. It's all drag and drop, and it's pretty much intuitive in how you build these, but how you incorporate it into your page becomes another issue altogether. And that's the one thing that I hope to be able to get to today, but we'll see. Okay. So for example, if you want to start or you want to open an existing slideshow, you can do that. This is to save the project. This is opening an existing one. And if you want to just simply start from scratch, we can go ahead and do that too. I can click here to add images or videos. So if I click here, I can add individual images, or I can add images from a folder. So I can do that. You can also add videos from YouTube, or you can add them from Vimeo. You can add images from Flickr and a number of other things too, from, PhotoBucket, a number of different sources now. They keep adding to these, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to start with a folder since I've already prepared some. Okay. And I'm going to go to my G drive here, and I want to go into Fine Art, and I'm going to select, let's see, that's too many. I just want a handful of these guys. Well, I can always remove them. I can show you how to do that. So I've, created a folder with a number of images, okay, that are all 640 by 480 pixels. I will show you in a minute the different formats that you can choose from, and you can create custom formats as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select the whole folder and just select open, and boom, there it goes. They're all open. All of these are open, and you can see right off the bat it creates a default slideshow for you. But that's where we're going to go in and we can add. So let's go around the horn here and look at the entire window or desktop so you can see how you can add and modify the slides. So the first thing that I want to do is that I want to save this, and I would want to save it in my root folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use lesson 12 as my root folder for this. So I'm going to go ahead and go to say slider, and I'm going to say save project as. Even though I'm going to make significant changes to it, I want to make some, save it first. So I've saved mine on my desktop. So here's Dreamweaver lessons here, and I'm going to go into lesson 12. And I'm just going to save it in here. Come on. And I got to give it a name. I'm going to call it slideshow spring 2021. So there, I've given it a name. I just save it right in here, so I know where it's at. Okay. Take a couple of minutes to save that. Come on. System extension blocked. The program Bitdefender tried to load. Let me open security. I guess I've got something else going on here that could be a problem. Sorry about that. Let's go in here. Privacy, firewall, general. Let's go to privacy real quick. I'm just going to close it. Hopefully everything is okie dokie. So anyway, I think I have it saved. We'll find out shortly. But over to the left are the slides, okay? And it just brought them in the order that they were created. If you want to move them up or down, or if you want to remove them, just select the one you want to remove. So let's remove a whole bunch of them, since I only need a handful of these. But I'll select this one, and then you just click the minus, and that removes that. And let's take this one, and I'll remove it. Let's take this one, and I'll remove it. So, and if you want to add one, you do the same thing. Okay. Click the add button, and then go to your folder and add the slide that you want. If you want to change the order of them, for example, if I want this one to be down here, you just click and you drag it to a different location. Here, let's do that again. There we go. So now I've moved it, move it up and down in the stacking order. So the next step is to decide, well, you need to determine the size of your slideshow. And the default size over here is 640 by 360. But if you remember a moment ago, I said that the format that I had chosen for mine was 640 by 480. So I need to change that right here. So here's 640 by 480. And as soon as I do that, notice that all of the slides seem to fit much better now. So that's very important, is picking the size that you want. And you'll notice that there's a whole variety of sizes to choose from, and you can also pick a custom size. 640 by 480 is a kind of a bare bones minimum size. The next thing that you want to do is decide on the template. And there are a whole bunch of them here. I'm kind of a minimalist at heart. And I like to focus not so much on the slideshow and the buttons and that sort of thing, but on the slides themselves. So I find that these buttons here are kind of fun, but they kind of overshadow the images themselves. So we can go through these, and you can click, and all you have to do is select any one of these, and you'll notice that it automatically updates. So my choice is, let's see if I can find it. I like, as I said, I like the real minimal ones. So I'm going to come down here and let's see if I can't find it. I don't think it was calm, but it was close to something like that. It was, let's see, push, quiet, flat. Most of them are kind of over the top, to be quite honest. And as you can see that they have a lot of them to choose from. So which one did I have? Like I said, it was really a minimal approach. Hold on. I'm going to pause for just a second. So yeah, the one that I wanted was terse. That's my favorite. Okay. Then the next thing that you need to decide, once you've determined the size of your slideshow, you've determined which template you want to choose. The next thing that you would want to think about is the transition between the slides. And again, I go for a minimalist approach to that. And again, they have a whole bunch of transition effects. And all you do is right here under, you can select multiple effects or select one. I think if you select multiple, it gets a bit heavy and overboard. But again, you just click on the ones that you want to try and see what they look like. TV is kind of a fun one. Bubbles, I think, depending on it, you know, what you're doing, can be kind of fun. It's over the top. Dribbles is another one that's kind of interesting. That's the default one that they choose. Louvers can be kind of interesting. You know, cube over is one that's used fairly often. Okay. Okay. My favorite, though, is just something very simple. And the one that I like is either blur. Yeah, blur is probably my favorite. It just blurs from one slide to the next. Okay. So we're partway there. We've got slides organized. We've got our template that we've created here. We've determined what transitions we want to use. The next step is to determine here the kind of titles and slide and that we want to use as well. So let's go ahead and let's look at more settings down here. Okay, and you'll see there's a lot of repetitiveness here. Here again is the template that we've chosen that shows you what it looks like. Here is the size. And we want to make sure that we preserve the aspect ratio. You can also sketch the small images if you want. We also image fill color. We have black, but instead I'm going to use white just to make sure that you can pick whatever color you want. But if you have chosen the images to the correct size, it will not be an issue. You don't need to worry about that. The same for that's the image fill color. Quality of image is generally 80 or 90. Template color, I'm going to also pick that as white, just so that it blends with the white background that I've chosen. Here is the transition effect. You could also affect the number of seconds, the delay between slides, and the effect of the duration. So I'm leaving it at the default 2 and 2. Okay. And then here is enable this caption at the bottom, WowSlider. Now that's what I mentioned a moment ago, that if you don't want that, then that's where you have to pay for that. If you pay for WowSlider, then you can get rid of all of that. So I've done that. Okay. So let's go back to some more settings here. What I want to do is I need to, let's scroll up. Actually, I'm going to pick for the color here for the text. I'm going to pick black. I guess I probably could pick there we go. So that pertains to the titles down here. Now, when I select a title, you have to select the slide first. Okay, and with this slide selected, I mean, you're not going to see it here updated right away, but it will come soon. And I'll just call it slide 1. Okay, so you'll have slide 1, slide 2. By default, it uses the name of the slides that you have created. So click in here. Slide 01. And then if you have a description, and I'll just say my fine art. Okay. And then it will finally come up, and then we'll go to the next slide. I'll just name this one slide 2, but normally you would give it a title. And then again, for that slide, this is also some of my fine art. Okay. So now you've added that. So now we could go ahead, and once we get all these done, and you can see that this is, it's currently taking the names from the slides. Let me go ahead and let's look at some more settings here, because I don't like how they slide across. I like to leave them static. That's another feature. And I went in here for more settings, but I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to look at the properties here. So here's the little tool, they use icons here. And so here we have under general settings, we have the general design, which we looked at before. And when you're ready to publish, then that will be the button that we choose. So let's look at the general settings here. Rather than, let's go through here. I want it to automatically play the slideshow. I do want it to pause on mouse over. I like that. If you don't, then that's fine. If it says stop slideshow after one loop, you can choose that. If you want to randomize the order, you can also do that. You can also specify if you have video from like YouTube, do you want it to autoplay it? I want to include the pause and play button. Do you want a full screen button? You can also add that if you wish. There's swipe support, which is kind of nice, which means, and that's one of the reasons that I have chosen this, is that on a smartphone or a tablet, when you play this on that, then you can also use your finger to swipe back and forth, which is really kind of nice. The slide layout I'm using here is boxed. If you want to use a full width one, you would need to increase the size of your images. And then the next thing that you want to do is, show controls on mouse over. And the next one that I would want is to show preview and next buttons, show descriptions, but I don't want the parallax. I'm going to select none. That's what I do. I just want it to pop up and then go. And then if you want buttons, the little bullets for the navigation, you can choose top or bottom. For right now, I'm just going to leave it at bottom. If you want a film strip instead at the bottom, you can choose that. So let's see what that looks like, and I'll show you. Okay. So if you prefer a little image at the bottom, if you have just a handful of slides, it's really kind of nice. And then again, you can click on that and it will jump to that particular slide. And again, I can pause it. And again, it will be paused on mouse over as well. And I can have it autoplay again. So I'm going to go back up and I'm just going to use the bullets instead of the film strip. And I'll apply that. So I'm pretty much ready to go, except, I have slide 1, slide 2, and notice how it's slightly transparent, that background color of white with black in the text. And it's looking, more to my taste. Now, to spend a little bit more time, I would need to go ahead and, fill out all of the titles and descriptions and that sort of thing, make sure that it's all working correctly. But now I'm pretty much, if everything is saved, I'm ready to publish it. And then I'm going to insert it in a blank page. So let me go ahead under slider, and let's go ahead and save project so that it's saved. Okay. There we go. So everything should be saved now. I have a program that was blocking that. So let's make sure that again, now that that is saved. Let's make sure that that's saved. Slideshow 2020 and lesson 12, save again. Let's go ahead and replace the old with a new, and we should be set to go. So it's all saved. It's saved in my root folder. I'm not going to upload or publish everything yet, but the next step is to create the publish settings, and that's what we do here. You can insert it directly into a page, but I prefer copying and pasting the code. I feel that I have a little bit more control over it. So I'm going to go to the publish settings now to show you the options that it gives you for this, because there will be 2 additional folders that it will include for you to upload to your host to make sure that this publishes correctly. So you'll notice that it says publish to a folder, and that's what I want it to do. If you want it to publish to an FTP server, you can do that direct. If you want to insert it to a page, you can do that. If you have a Joomla module, you could do that, or a WordPress slider. You can also share it on Facebook, publish it to Google Drive, on and on and on. I'm just going to publish it to a folder, and that's what I recommend that all of you do. And it's going to be my root folder. The next important thing to do is decide on a slider ID. Now, depending on how many WowSliders you incorporate in your on your website, you need to have a different ID for each one. Okay, so that it understands which slideshow it's targeting, because some of this is going to go into the information is going to go into the head of your document, and some of it will be pasted into the content. So since this is the first one that we'll be using on page, I'm going to use slider ID of 1. But if I have, as I have on other websites, I have 4 or 5 slideshows. Each one has to have a unique ID associated with it. So this is going to be slider ID 1, and any additional ones would then be 2, 3, 4, and you have to keep track of all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and I need to make sure that this is going to go inside my correct folder. So I need to browse the document, okay, to make sure that it goes in the right source. And I don't want it to go in documents. I want it to go inside my root folder. And there's a reason for that, because when you open up the slideshow later on, and if you wish to edit it, it will be easier to make sure that you find all the contents for it. And you're going to have to know where you have saved your original slides as well. So I'm going to go here to Dreamweaver here. Let me browse again to make sure that that's in the right location. I want it to be lesson 12. I'm going to open that up. There we go. So it's in lesson 12, and I'm going to go ahead and apply. And let's go ahead again, and let's ready to actually publish. And you'll see what happens when it publishes it. So this little button right here is my publish button, or I can do it from up here. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go ahead and publish. And now it goes through all of its motions, and it publishes it in whatever browser you have open. And you can see that this is what it looks like in its final state, how it's working. But then you'll notice down here that there is code here. Okay. So we need to make sure that we have these two folders that I was telling you about for data 1 and engine 1 that need to be, that will be, that were just published inside my root folder. These need to be uploaded manually when you're using whatever host. And then there's these two elements that need to be pasted inside the content of your page. So this goes inside the head of your document. This goes inside the content of your document, wherever you choose to have it, to place it. Now, remember, if you're building a page from a template in Dreamweaver, that the head of the document is generally locked. So you need to make sure that you either detach it or you go back to the template and you insert it there. And for each slideshow, you'll need to do this accordingly. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to now go back over here and I'm going to create a new page from the template. So new. Okay. And I'm going to go from template, create. There we go. So I want it in the main content is where I want my slideshow. But remember, since this is from the built from a template, that in order to put that information in the head of the document, as I just said, I need to detach it. So I'm going to switch from live view to design view. And now I can go to tools, and I can go to templates, and I can say detach from template. Okay. And now I can look at this in split view. Okay. So here's split view. And now what I need to do is I need to take all of that information that I was talking about, and let's look at the end of the head of the document. Okay. So I'm going to go right after here before the closing tag, and I'm going to take that first section that I showed you, and I'm going to copy it. And you can't see that because it's off screen, but I'm copying this information right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and, come on. Right there before the closing tag of the head, and I'm going to paste it. So that's where that goes. Then I need to come back in here, and I can either do this from design view or live view, but I'm going to go back to live view so I can see this a little bit better. But I want it to go, scroll down a little bit, and I want it to go right after it says add content here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, and now I take this content, and this goes into the body of my text. So wherever I want that, in the main content and on the side or wherever, if it's sitting by itself, I'm going to go ahead and copy this now. Command C to copy. And then I'm going to come in here, and where it says add content here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this from the code view. And it's going to go in the main article. But right after that P tag, now I'm going to go ahead and paste. And now let's go ahead and look at this in just live view instead of split view. And there's my slideshow. Okay. So let's test this to see if it works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to do save as, and I'll again save it in my root folder, and I'm going to name it slideshow spring 2021 HTML. And notice it's going inside lesson 12, inside my root folder. And make sure that the whole thing is saved. And now I'm going to go ahead and go to File. And I'm going to use real-time preview. And let's try Google Chrome. Or no, let's try Firefox. No, I didn't like it. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try File. Come on. Let's cancel that. File. I don't know why I'm having troubles here. Real-time preview. And let's try Safari. Sometimes you have difficulty with a preview. And it doesn't like it either. I'm getting this. Save all the files, including related files, to preview. So I guess I didn't do that. Let's go back up here and make sure that everything is saved. So I'm going to go to File, Save All, and then try it again. So let's try again. Let's go to File, Real-Time Preview, and let's try again, Safari. No, it still doesn't like it. So at this stage of the game, I'm going to go ahead and pause, record. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this first as index.html. And publish it because I'm having trouble previewing it because it says that all the files have not been properly saved. Make sure it's saved in lesson 12, and then I can go back and I'm going to try it one more time just to see before I actually publish it to Infinity Free. File. Let's real-time preview. Let's try Safari again. There it is. Now it's working. There we go. So here it is in Safari. And there's my slideshow. And when I hover over it, and pause it. And when I hover over it, I can play it manually across. And when I move out, it stops. You can see that I have the little preview buttons down here. So here's our slideshow. It works very nicely. They used jQuery for this. It's very easy to use. It's easy to get goofed up too. But so far, so good. It works really nice. I'm very pleased with it. Bootstrap also has a carousel that works really, really well. That you might want to venture out and give it a whirl at some point. Okay, so that's using the WowSlider. I encourage you for your final project to incorporate a slideshow, and this would be my choice to download the free version of WowSlider and to incorporate a little slideshow into your Dreamweaver website. Are there any questions from you guys today about how to do this? I will cover the rest of lesson 12 on Thursday. That's all I had to talk about today. We still have, quite a bit of time. No questions from anybody? No. Okay, then. We're kind of cut it a little bit short today and take us as long take me as long as I thought it would to complete this lesson. If it's pretty clear to everybody how to use the WowSlider, let me know. Or because there aren't any tutorials, it's like MobiRise. Just kind of grope through it yourself and come up with a slideshow that works for you. Maybe a half a dozen slides would be nice. The other thing is make sure that you decide in advance how big you want your slides to be. It works really nice though, as I said, when, even when you shrink it down, it will shrink accordingly. And it will also rotate and work very nicely when you, flip your phone to the horizontal view. So it works really nicely. And as I said, right now, if you don't have a mouse, which you wouldn't on your phone, it adapts to the slide, using your finger and sliding. So that makes it kind of nice as well. So it accommodates whatever size screen it's being viewed on. So I like that aspect of it as well. Okay. Well, that's it for today then. I'm going to say goodbye. And you guys are free to leave. And unless you have any questions. No? Okay. And this will be posted very soon if you want to review it for any reason. Okay? Bye-bye.